Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, Karen betrays me and goes after my ex-boyfriend, even though she knows how in love with him I still am. I'm 32, female, and my ex-boyfriend is male, 35. We broke up about 5 months ago after 4 years together. He's the most amazing guy, and I love him so much. These past few months have been the worst of my life. He's very handsome and successful, and rich, which is relevant. I'm sure he will not have any problems getting into a new relationship. He broke up with me because we don't want the same things in life. He wants to have kids and have a family, but I don't. I think we stayed together for so long, even though we knew we wanted different things. We probably kind of thought we would change or change each other, and that love is all that mattered. I still love him, but I don't know if he still loves me. When we broke up, I asked for a clean break. That means no contact because I needed to get over him. My friends know all of this, and they know how much I still love him. One of my best friends, who's 28, jokingly said that he was now up for grabs a month after we broke up. I ignored her. I thought it was a bad joke. She's very beautiful, and she basically can get whoever she wants. She's always said that she's never been rejected before, and I believe her. I know my ex didn't really like her because she wants a rich guy and because she's had a lot of plastic surgery done. Last time we had dinner, she brought up wanting to date him, and one of my other friends said that we didn't do that to each other. She laughed it off and said, "Well, you can try, but you are not his type." She said that she's never been rejected before, and this is where I might have been the jerk. I told her he didn't like greedy girls with lip injections and plastic surgery. She started crying, telling me now she won't feel bad whenever she takes him because I'm a jerk. My friends sided with her on that one. I waited until I was in my car to start crying. I don't think I'm the jerk. She knows I still love him and I'm not over him. Couldn't she at least wait? I know she's panicking because she kept saying that he won't be single for long. I don't know. Tell me if I should apologize. Update. I talked to a mutual friend today. My former best friend has asked my ex for dinner about 2 weeks ago, the same week we had our fight. She took him to one of my favorite restaurants that she knows we both loved. Anyway, after the dinner, he stopped answering her calls and texts. I don't know what happened there and why he agreed to having dinner with her, and I can't help but cry and feel hurt. I know this is juvenile, and I need to let it go, but I couldn't stop crying anyway. But I need to work on myself and move on. I love him and I want him to be happy. I can't start crying at the mere thought of him moving on. My former best friend is angry with me and has told our mutual friends that I have forbidden him from seeing her, and that's why he didn't text her back or answer her calls. I said that this wasn't true and that I haven't had any contact with him since I moved out. I don't know if our friends believe me or her. I feel like I don't have the energy to care if they do or not. When everything settles down and everyone moves on, the ones that care about me will stay in my life. The rest, well, they're not worth being sad about losing. Not the jerk. She was disrespectful for those comments. Don't apologize because she isn't your friend. OP. I don't think she wants me anymore as a friend. If she ends up with him, she'll probably not want to be friends anymore. And if they don't, she will always think of my comment as the reason. She doesn't sound like a friend since she's been waiting to date him. If anything, she had been staying close to you just to have access to him. You need to make a clean break from her too. And how shallow is she that she thinks that her looks alone will be an equivalent to everything that you meant and still mean to your ex? Also, you need to make sure that you truly want a clean break with your ex. You can't go back and forth calling dibs on him. Everyone sucks here. Her way more than you. The way she dismissed 1, the fact that you still love him, and 2, the unwritten rule that you don't date your friend's exes, and 3, your polite and tactful comment that she wasn't his type just shows her true colors. If she's full of herself enough to say that she's never been rejected, she can stand to be knocked down a couple notches. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her friend? Please let us know. Friends don't date friends' exes. Don't at me, bruh. Today I messed up by donating $15,000 to a poor community in Bangladesh instead of the $150 donation I intended. This happened in February last year, but my friends have been telling me I need to post this story online, so here goes nothing. My wife and I, both 31 years old at the time, moved into a new 3-unit apartment building in San Francisco. One of our neighbors is a 70-something-year-old retired veteran. We'll call him Joe. For context, Joe is a white American guy, and he's also a devout Hindu priest. One day I run into Joe in my hallway, and he tells me about this charity he manages for a community in Bangladesh. I wanted to support my neighbor and the charity, so I asked Joe to send me the GoFundMe link. The next day at work, I go on the GoFundMe page and I donate $150, or so I thought. Moments later, I get a text on my phone warning me of an unusually large transaction on my credit card. I'm confused and swipe to open the text message. It says I've made a payment of $15,041 to GoFundMe. Immediately, I'm sweating. How could I have donated $15,000? I spend the next 10 to 15 minutes retracing my steps, and finally I realize my credit card starts with the numbers 4 and 1. It seems I had accidentally started typing my credit card information in while my cursor was still on the donation box, and just like that, $150 became $15,041. Yikes. I call GoFundMe support line in a panic, and when I finally connect with a human, I explain what happened. No need to worry, he tells me. They will initiate a refund of the transaction, which should process in 3 to 7 business days. That's a huge relief. But then I ask the agent if the charity will be able to see the donation on the GoFundMe page until it's refunded. What do you mean? The agent asks me. What do you mean, what do I mean? Was my response. Will they be able to see the $15,000 donation? Unfortunately, yes, the agent tells me. They will be able to see it until the refund process is complete. I tell him that's a big problem, as the entire GoFundMe had hardly raised that much at that point. Surely they will notice their fundraiser doubling overnight. My plan was to knock on Joe's door the following morning to give him the full story so that he could pass it along to his contacts in Bangladesh. But when I woke up the next morning, I looked at my phone and I saw that I had 40+ notifications on Facebook. Someone had sent me a friend request, had liked many of my old posts, and had sent me many messages. Immediately, I was concerned when I saw that the individual messaging me had a Hindu name, but I never could have imagined what I saw when I opened his first message. The man had sent me a video of himself from Bangladesh, surrounded by dozens of impoverished and hungry people holding bags of food, thanking me by name, Michael, for my generous donation. A big round of applause for Michael. At this point, I've leaped out of my bed and I'm pacing. Part of me wants to scream. Part of me wants to crack up laughing. I start swiping through the man's messages, and it's picture after picture after picture of poor Bangladeshis thanking me for my kind donation. Literally hundreds of photos of frail, elderly, disabled, and malnourished individuals holding signs with my name. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Needless to say, I couldn't live with myself if I just donated $150 after seeing how the community responded to $15,000. I decided to at least add a zero, so I donated $1,500 once the original donation was refunded. The charity's host was incredibly gracious and understanding, and he explained to me that $1,500 goes very far in Bangladesh for urgent food relief. Here's the charity's new GoFundMe link if you want to check it out. Ultimately, I think the whole experience was a win-win. I helped a great cause, and I got a funny story out of it. Don't you just love a happy ending? We're including that GoFundMe link in the description of this video if you'd like to go help out. I keyed someone's car today because they parked poorly. Today, I got the most irrationally mad that I've been in a while. A friend ruined a concert for me last night. This morning, I woke up with a killer headache. I was running late for work, and my belt broke when I went to pull on it. A busy intersection on the way to work was choked down to one lane because of construction, so it took like 10 minutes to get through. And when I was waiting for the light, some jerk in a lifted pickup truck with a vanity license plate with something along the lines of "Monster" on it. That's not what it said verbatim, but the same idea. They were proud jerks. Forced its way in front of a car in front of me, making me miss another light cycle. When I finally got to work, the parking lot was full, and I made my way to what appeared to be an open spot somewhere in the middle of it. But when I got there, I found that the car parked in one of the spots next to it was needlessly overlapping the line by about 2 feet. It clearly wasn't a case of the car next to them parking poorly and then pulling away, leaving them to look like jerks. No, they clearly turned into this parking space from the wrong direction and did nothing to straighten their car to fit in the spot. The spot that they were bleeding over into was on the driver's side, so it was clear when they left the vehicle that they were parked poorly and they still left it. Anyway, I had parked on the far corner of the parking lot, around 100 yards further. Even though 100 yards isn't far and I could have written it off, at that point I was blind with anger and was honestly considering going home because my headache was insane and I was worried that I'd come in too hot and get myself in trouble. I chose not to do that though. Walking to the front of the store, I had to pass the vehicle that had been parked poorly, and impulsively I grabbed my keys from my pocket and dragged them as hard as I could across the entire back of the car as I walked by. I instantly realized how messed up that was and started regretting it. I walked straight back to the bathrooms in the store and I hid there for like 10 minutes to stop seeing red and then started my shift as if nothing had happened. The day went on as normal and nothing came of it. I know the cameras don't really cover that part of the parking lot, and I did it in a way that I don't think was obvious, so I don't think it will ever come back to me. But I do feel bad about it. Update. I've slept on the incident and have come to a conclusion. I don't care. I didn't impact the vehicle's ability to operate, and the damage can be completely ignored. If you're selfish enough to park like a jerk and not fix it, then maybe your vehicle should reflect that to warn other drivers and to show that you don't learn. Maybe your day deserves to be made a little bit worse for it. Forget them. The way they were parked showed that, at least, the spot they were mostly in and the spot they were overlapping were unoccupied when they parked. They could have easily parked better if they wanted to. If you're going to be selfish in a way that affects me, I'm going to be selfish in a way that affects you, and use you to get rid of my anger so that I can be compassionate towards people who actually deserve compassion. That's the thing about doing crappy things in response to other crappy things. They end up making you feel worse, not better. Well, what do you think? Was OP justified in keying the car or not? Please let us know. Oh, it's all right. We've all keyed a few cars, haven't we? No. Today I messed up by going on a date with my friend. I went on a date with one of my friends, whom I'll call Sarah, not her real name, that I attend the same university with. I've always known that my friend has a thing for me, but I've always been reluctant to go on a date with her because I genuinely value our friendship and felt putting romance there would just mess things up. About a week ago, I was hanging out with Sarah and our other mutual friend as they listened to me complain about my unfortunate dating history. The mutual friend then put out the idea of a date between Sarah and I. He did this mainly to just make the room temporarily awkward, but it led to a conversation where I essentially asked Sarah for a date. For the days leading up to the date, Sarah and I became a lot more flirty, and I have to admit, I was also excited for the date. 2 days ago, I picked Sarah up and we went to a fairly fancy restaurant. When the waiter came, I ordered my food. She then ordered basically 3 separate meals, and I didn't know what to say or how to question why she had ordered so much food. When I finished my food, she barely ate half of one plate, and she then said she wasn't actually hungry because she ate lunch right before she left her place. I asked her why then she ordered 3 meals, and she said one is for her mom's dinner, since she's always wanted to try this restaurant out, and the other is for her to eat with her mom during dinner. I then told her that it's nice that she's getting dinner for her mom. It's cute that she would do that, to which she responded, "I should be thanking you since you're paying." I had told her I would pay for the date, but I definitely never agreed to paying for her mom and her dinner when we had only gone out for lunch. The meal was expensive, but I would have been fine paying for her if she actually ate all 3 meals. Instead, it all just felt wrong to me. The rest of the date was ruined for me, and I was checked out for the rest of the date. I was just going through the motions. After I left her at her place, I went radio silent on her as I was still annoyed by what she did. Today, I wanted to just tell her that I think it's better we go back to being just friends, but as I opened our chat message, I read a message she sent me shortly after our date. She basically was thanking me for the date and then went on to pour out her feelings for me and say that she has loved me for years and the date was like a dream come true for her. Yeah, I bet it was, all that free food. I had to drive over to her place to try to explain as gently as possible that the feelings are not mutual, which resulted in her crying and screaming at me as to why I was flirting with her before the date and why I even asked her out on a date. I feel horrible. Update. Thank you for your replies. I've been reading them and I want to clarify a few things. Firstly, I think I messed up in going on this date with her knowing she had feelings for me and there's risk of losing a friend. When I asked her on the date, I reasoned that she's attractive, and even though I didn't like her in that way, we technically should make a good couple, so I was willing to give it a shot. Which in hindsight, it was my mistake, and I should have just stuck to my logic surrounding friends. Over the week, the flirtation came naturally, and I was genuinely optimistic and excited for the date, and definitely didn't intend on leading her on. Secondly, I paid for her meals. For me, the money wasn't the problem. It was the concept in itself that bothered me. I don't mind buying her things to take home. I have actually done it a few times before. But you don't do that on a date, nor without asking at least prior to ordering. I didn't mention the food thing when we spoke. Honestly, her reaction to me not reciprocating those feelings left me speechless, and she kicked me out of her house when she was crying and shouting at me. She was also mad it took me 2 days to reply to her confession of love. Lastly, last night before I slept, I talked to our mutual friend who had kind of helped in instigating this date, and he was telling me that when he spoke to her, she was a total mess and talking about horrible things that concerned her safety, which makes me feel so much worse. I wish this date had never happened. I, female 37, am furious at my niece, who's 19, for posting a picture of me online but my sister doesn't want to get involved. Recently, there was a wedding in the family, and I was one of the bridesmaids. I was getting ready at my sister's house, along with some of my other family members. It's important to note that the dress was a corset back and very, very annoying to put on, but my husband kindly watched a how-to video and said that he would be happy to help me get it on properly. The dress was causing a hassle and took much longer to put on than necessary, but eventually it was on and the wedding went smoothly. It was only after the wedding that I saw my niece, who's 19, had posted an album on Facebook with all the getting ready photos, and scrolling through it, one was taken of my husband and I as we struggled to get the dress on. I would like to note here that my husband and I were in a private room when getting ready, and the photo had been taken through the window. I had closed the curtains, but clearly had left a gap that was enough for the photo to be taken. It's not a very modest photo at all. My husband was trying to get the ribbons done up and had his hands underneath it, trying to make sure that nothing was knotted or twisted from the inside. You can't see anything in the photo, but the dress is hitched up. I was furious immediately when I saw the photo. Why on earth would she post a photo of me like this? I confronted her, and she said that first, she posted it because she didn't have any other getting ready photos of me, and second, it showed mine and my husband's bond and that he was generously helping me. I told her that she had invaded our privacy in getting that photo, which is evidence enough I do not want it circulated. I also compared what she did to something a creep would do, which is when it turned into a full-blown argument and my sister got involved. My sister said that I should be above name-calling and that my niece does not have to engage with someone who argues like a kid. She also said that it was my niece's personal social media and she can do what she wants with it. I said that it may be her social media, but a photo of me which I have rights over. Besides, it was taken and then posted without my consent. My sister said to take it up with the cops if I felt so strongly about it, and then walked away. I'm not really sure what to do from here, but I just feel so creeped out. I feel involving the cops would be throwing fuel on the fire, so any advice on navigating this would be appreciated. Update. Something that I had neglected to mention in my initial post because I was worried it would end up being the topic of discussion is that I am a Muslim woman and I wear a hijab in day-to-day life. Maybe it helps people understand why I was so upset. In light of everyone's comments though, I thought that I had maybe been too emotional when talking to my niece, and I realized maybe I shouldn't have called her creepy, so I organized a coffee date with her and my sister at a local cafe so we could have more of a heart-to-heart. I decided not to include my husband because they might feel more comfortable if it were just women in the discussion. Now, I would like to note that my sister and her family are not religious, and my niece has never been religious, but she's always been around my family and is very aware of why I choose to dress modestly. She has never been disrespectful of this in the past, so I led with that. I said that I was upset because I felt like she had violated my privacy. I told her that it was always inappropriate to take a photo of someone through a closed curtain, but I felt even worse given that what she posted should not have been seen by anyone outside of who I felt comfortable with. Side note, for those who commented that I should just report it, that was the first thing I did, and Facebook is allegedly still investigating, but the photo is still up. My niece's and sister's reaction was not what I expected at all. I went in hoping for a very honest and open discussion, but they came right out the gate, saying that they had spoken to one of my niece's friends who is studying law, and she, who's in her 20s, says that given the photo was taken on my sister's property and through my sister's window into my sister's house, the photo legally belonged to my sister, and by extension her family. No crime had been committed, seeing as the landholder had given her permission. I said that was illogical, and would mean that any number of crimes could be committed, so long as the landholder gives their permission. But my sister just said that that's the law, so I should take it up with the judge. It was like talking to a brick wall, so eventually I just got up, paid, and I left. My husband says that I can probably go to a lawyer and get a cease and desist letter or something along those lines, asking that the photo be deleted. But I'm just so upset right now, I'm struggling to even think straight. The relationship seems to be over given the total lack of respect, but I never thought it would be like this. I guess that my other option is the cops, but I don't want this to drag on for a million years. I know this isn't a happy ending, but the lesson for everyone is to always make sure your curtains are closed properly. My employee started a false rumor that two coworkers were having an affair. I'm a manager of a handful of frontline managers. One manager in particular, let's call her Emily, approached me the other day to tell me that one of the receptionists, Jane, came to her office and told her that there was a rumor going around the office that Emily was potentially having an affair with a new male coworker, John. Jane then told Emily in no uncertain terms that she expected the behavior to stop. The behavior being that they joke around with each other. Emily immediately began to investigate where the rumors were coming from and found it actually originated with Jane. She went through a rough couple of days when she just felt completely blindsided and sick about the whole thing. She's happily married, and so is John. I've seen them interact many times, and it's only ever seemed like two colleagues who banter back and forth together. I've never seen or heard anything that would raise concern. I've worked with Emily and John for a long time, and their character is above reproach. I'm not concerned at all that there's anything to the rumor. Jane has been at the center of office gossip before. In fact, before she was concerned that Emily and John were having an affair, she felt like another coworker and John were getting too close. I've heard for the last few months that Jane feels she would be a better manager than Emily, and I wonder if this is her way of trying to get rid of Emily. I've never wanted Jane to be a manager. She's never shown in her attitude or behavior that she would be good at it, so she isn't on my radar when it comes to any kind of succession planning. I plan on speaking with Jane about unprofessional behavior and the company policy about not gossiping, and I plan on giving her an official warning on this subject. Is there anything else I can do? How should I word my conversation with her? Also, can I, in this same conversation, tell her that she will never be a manager under my downline, or would that just be piling on? Update. When Emily, the manager, told me what had happened, I did ask her how she wanted to handle it. We discussed our options and decided it was just time for Jane to go. She had gossip issues in the past that she was disciplined for. We knew it would take a bit of time to manage her out, but that was the plan. Because this was urgent, I spoke to Jane, the troublemaker, the very next day and said similar things to what Allison recommended. I don't interact daily with Emily's team as I have other locations I'm responsible for, but I have a reputation for generally being easygoing. I think when I spoke to Jane, she was surprised at how matter-of-fact and assertive I was. There was no friendly banter. I told her that what she had done was completely unacceptable and that her behavior would not be allowed in the office. I discussed with her how rumors of this nature can destroy reputations and careers, and Emily and I no longer trusted her. I did tell her that she had a long uphill battle of gaining trust back in the office and that all the effort in the world may never result in trust being restored. She was upset at this point, not angry, which is what I expected, but she was crying, not at all what I expected. I asked her if she thought she felt she could earn back the trust which was broken and if she felt that she could move forward. She said she had been looking at other jobs and said maybe she should quit. I told her that would be up to her, but I encouraged her to do so. She decided that would be best. I wasn't interested in having her work for her last 2 weeks, so I had her write a letter of resignation, let her gather her things, and that was that. I did process her out as though she gave 2 weeks, so she wouldn't lose all of her vacation time that we pay out when proper notice is given. I thought for sure she would be combative in the meeting, and I thought she would argue with me. I was surprised by the outcome, but glad I didn't have to go through the couple-week process of managing her out officially. I found out Jane got a new job a couple weeks later as a manager. After a couple of months, we heard from another staff member that Jane was telling people how angry she was, that when she said she would just quit, that we didn't try to talk her out of it. She didn't understand why we just let her go. Guy lied about his credentials online. I contacted the department he allegedly studied at, and they all said they didn't know him. A guy I got into a row with on a Facebook group lied about his credentials online when he felt threatened by me and started spewing nonsense about how I'm probably not a graduate of the school that's written on my Facebook and my professional page. Prior to this, he was very rude, crass, and disrespectful to people that call him out on his BS. Instead of defending himself properly, he'll resort to childish insults and personally attacking you when he has nothing else to back up his claims. He claims to be a religious educator, yet his actions show anything but religious. Anyway, he made the mistake of giving out his ID number and degree at School A, where a close friend of mine graduated, and his program that he was currently taking in School B, where I graduated, and I'm close with the program secretary, when we were having a row. A quick Google search also connected me to his LinkedIn, where he has indeed listed both schools down, but it's very inconsistent with the entry and graduation dates he gave me. I let it slide for a day after the argument simmered down, but this morning I noticed he took a very obvious jab at me at the same Facebook group we bickered at. It was written in our language, but it roughly translated to, "There's this one person here, in the comments section, that allegedly graduated from a prestigious university, but her personality is trash." As a naturally petty person, I obviously did not let this slide. First course of action. I messaged the department in School B he was supposedly taking his master's degree in, reporting him by giving them what happened, the screenshots of just how rude, crass, and disrespectful he is. I also gave them his full name, which I sleuthed on my own. The year he supposedly entered the school and the program he was taking. The answer from the program secretary? Hi, OP. Good afternoon. Mr. V is not a student. Thank you for raising this concern. We'll look into this matter. Satisfaction. Second course of action. I messaged the department he supposedly finished his bachelor's from in school A. I gave them his full name, alleged ID number, the bachelor's degree he allegedly finished from this school, the years he was allegedly active at this school, as well as the same screenshots. The answer from the dean himself. I don't know him, and he's never been my student. Satisfaction. I'm biting for the right time to show these messages from the two departments for when he acts up again, so I can finally shut him up for good. But wow, the satisfaction was unreal. Furthermore, when I changed my picture to a picture of me in my toga, which is very distinct because of my university logo, he also changed his picture to him posing at a public place in my university where literally anyone can go without a problem, since it was a Catholic church, and you can go there anytime as long as it's daylight to pray or reflect. Sorry this got so long. I really needed a place to share my petty revenge. Update. The dude was apparently stalking my Facebook account and stumbled across a My Day post. I posted about how I contacted the department and how they all said they didn't know him, and now he's blowing up my messages, telling me they probably aren't said departments. Anyway, lots of people who know him also saw my post and asked who it's about. Told them it's him, and apparently he's mad that I exposed him online. Update 2. Found out the dude completely plagiarized a paper, and the paper was originally written by a friend of mine. Well, looks like he really did himself in. I'll wait this one out and see where it goes. Am I the jerk for not giving my son money from my daughter's savings? I'm 56, female, and my daughter, who's 29, still lives at home. My daughter was nervous about living on her own, and after college, she asked if she could come back home until she was ready. With the prices of houses right now and how dangerous the world has become, my husband and I decided it was best if she stayed at home. She doesn't know when she plans on moving out, but she isn't in any rush, and me and my husband don't plan on rushing her either. She pays us rent once a month. Her only other bills are the stuff for her cat and what she chooses to do with her own time. My husband had the idea to save the money she was giving us as rent and give it all back to her when she's about to move out as a surprise. My daughter does not know that we've been saving her rent money. Recently, my son, 31, male, and his wife have been house hunting. They haven't found anything in their budget that fits their needs. They're short on money and recently found out about what me and my husband have been doing with our daughter's rent money. Recently, he and his wife sat me and my husband down while our daughter was at work and asked us to give them the money we've been putting aside for our daughter. I told them no, because it wasn't our money to give away and that it belongs to his sister. He argued that she wasn't moving out anytime soon and he and his wife needed the money now. I offered to gift him some money, but it wasn't nearly as much as the amount of money my daughter's rent money has created over the last 7 years that she's been living with us. My son said that if we gave him the money, that me and my husband could just slowly put the money back over the next couple of years. I told him that me and my husband doing that would put us in a financial strain. We aren't struggling by any means, but the amount of money set aside for my daughter is too much to just put back. He and his wife accused me of favoring my daughter. I told them that wasn't true because he had the opportunity to live at home and save up for a house, but he chose not to live at home after college. I tried my best to explain to them that I couldn't just give away money that didn't belong to me. He and his wife angrily left after I refused to budge on the matter. Am I the jerk for not giving away my daughter's money? Not the jerk. They sure are entitled. I can't believe they declined money from you not related to the money your daughter has paid you in rent. That's ridiculous. Their financial situation is their responsibility and choice, and you are not required to give them anything, especially when it takes money from your daughter who has been paying you each month. Am I the jerk for giving my dad his money back in front of his other kids and telling him he was no longer welcome at my graduation? My graduation ceremony is being held next week. My dad has given me some money in advance to pay for the party. I live mostly with my mom, but they were supposed to be hosting the event together. Dad and I have a rocky relationship. After my parents divorced when I was 4, they split custody of me, and he was able to stay a good dad. When I was 10, he met Jane. Jane had 3 kids, twins and a single kid. They got married when I was 12, but I would say even before that, I felt like he prioritized her kids over me a lot. He would cancel plans with me if they wanted to do something, and would either do the thing with them or force me to go and say it was even better than our plans, when for me it wasn't. Think going for a hike with me versus taking them to an indoor play area, or seeing a movie with me versus the kiddie park. One more example is when I was given a ticket for a concert my dad and I both love. He was supposed to buy a ticket to come with me for some father-son time, but actually spent it on his youngest stepkid who wanted their room painted. He told me at the last minute, and it hurt. There are other times stuff like this happened too. He didn't show up at the hospital when I broke my arm because one stepkid was getting their tonsils out and wanted both him and his wife there. He told my mom over the phone to tell me he was proud of me for being brave and understanding, even though I never said that. When I would bring this stuff up to tell him, he'd tell me it was natural to feel jealous of sharing his attention. That was all he would say. In 2019, he told my mom he would split the cost of a trip I wanted to go on with one of my clubs because she didn't have the money all by herself. Mom had her half saved. We told my dad he needed to pay. He said bills were tight and it was the twins' birthdays and the money needed to go on something for them. He told me we could do something as a family when the trip happened instead. I told him to forget it, that he was making it clear who was more important and I was going to stay with my mom where I actually mattered. Mom borrowed money to cover the other half of the trip. Dad told me he regretted making me feel less important and we were working on things, and then the graduation money was given about a month ago. Then a week ago, he called me and told me how one of the stepkids was being bullied, how bad of a time they're having, and with that money, they could help cheer them up for their birthday. I was upset. I hung up. Then 2 days later, I showed up at his doorstep, gave him the money back, and told him I didn't want to see him or his new family at my graduation, and that he had chosen who was more important, so he better stay out of my life. His stepkids and 2 younger biological kids were there. I didn't stick around. He called and told me we needed to talk it out like adults and that I had hurt the kids' feelings. His wife freaked out on me, so I blocked her. Am I the jerk? As a mom with kids from 2 marriages, I will say absolutely not the jerk. Your dad consistently and constantly chose everyone else above you. This is not okay. Making and breaking promises is disgusting. Saying one thing and then backing out is gross. And asking for the money back? No, just no. He is not a father, he's a spineless donor who deserves nothing from you. You needed a father, and he was absolutely not it. And I'm sorry.
Welcome to our newest subscribers, Serge, Abdul, and Tamika. Subscribe to our channel today and tick the bell for all notifications, and you could get a shout out in our next video.